What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Hey, before we get going with this video, a couple things. It's OU Texas week right here. If you haven't ordered one of these hats, upside down Longhorn hats, you need to order them. Probably ASAP. I mean, if you're going to get it by Saturday, but even if you don't, order it. You'll have it after the game, after OU wins, hopefully, right? So check that out, www.thefanstop.com. Also, you can sign up for the Shirt of the Month Club there. Use code SURGE. You'll get 10% off your first 3 months. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel as well so you can be notified every time we go live or we release a video. Jackson, captains were released today for this big game in the Cotton Bowl. You got Danny Stutzman, no surprise, Dominique Williams, Bauer Sharp, Ethan Downs. You got Billy Bowman, and you got Fabechi Nueu. I believe that's it, right, Jackson?
Did you say Dom Williams?
I did. So there's your captains, and not surprised by these. And we've talked about how they release the captains every week. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the captains. What I really want to get to on this video is the defensive front and the defensive line for Oklahoma. I think that is an area that you pair that up with the offensive line of Texas, which is their strength. Uh, you could very well say here on Tuesday, as we sit, that may decide the game on Saturday. I just think you go back to last year, Jackson. OU had 5 sacks in that game on Quinn Ewers, 5. Uh, and some of those same O linemen are back for Texas, yet they're better. They're more improved. So is OU's defensive line, and OU's defensive line where they are in game going into Game 6 this year versus last year. It's not even close. They've got way more pressure on the quarterbacks. They sit at number 1 in the SEC in sacks. R. Mason Thomas sits 4th nationally in sacks. So just going to be a huge matchup, Jackson, on Saturday.
Yeah, you said it. And something that has made this Oklahoma defense, I think, be so successful early in the year was that they've made these teams being just so good up front into a one-dimensional team. Outside of the Auburn game, every other opponent that Oklahoma had played did not have an easy time being able to get yardage in the running game against Oklahoma. So if you're Oklahoma, you're going against – there's an argument for a top 3 QB in the country and Quinn Ewers, as we expect him to play against Oklahoma. And you got to find ways to make him uncomfortable if you're the defensive line. You got to be able to stop the run, because if Texas is able to get their run game going, it sets up their play action game, in which Steve Sarkisian might be the best schemer in the country when it comes to offense. Just the way he's able to work off the play action. I mean, we saw him torch a Michigan defense that is a really good defense. So if Texas gets things going on the ground, they're going to be able – I think it's going to make the life on Oklahoma so much harder defensively. And also, I think the matchup to watch for is going to be the defensive ends against Banks for Texas, because Banks, he's not allowed a pressure all season long. Is R. Mason Thomas going to be against him a lot? Ethan Downs against Texas, that's whenever we usually see him play the best. Is he going to have the matchup against Banks a lot? Are you going to use some of your more experienced guys like Caden Woolard or a Trace Ford? Or are we going to see a young guy maybe have a shot to maybe make his name known nationally? And I really do look for maybe this to be a big game for Adebawore. I know he really hasn't had his game yet, but I just think really over these last few years for Oklahoma, we've seen these young players kind of make their names become known more nationally. And I really do think that Adebawore is going to have a major impact on this game on the defensive end. And I do think this is the game where we're going to be like, all right, this defensive line, they are for sure, no doubt, a top 3 defensive line in the SEC, one of the best in the country, and the stats have showed it all year long.
Well, you mentioned Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks last year, Ethan Downs, I believe, had 2 sacks against Kelvin Banks. Ethan Downs lined up against him quite a bit last year, if I remember right. He did really well against him. The thing about R. Mason Thomas is, if anybody's watched any OU football this year, he doesn't line up on one side. He moves back and forth. They move him all around. So I don't even know if it's necessarily. I mean, they will probably see where Banks is lined up and move guys around, but I think they got the rotation they do, and they move guys around so much. It's going to be just a plethora of guys going against Banks. It's not going to be one guy for the majority of the game, I don't think, but who knows? They got to get pressure on Ewers, period. Ewers coming back off an injury, missed a few games. It'll be interesting when he takes that first hit. Abdominal, uh, it's just, it even if he's fully healthy and could have played against Mississippi State, it's one of those injuries you're going to see how he reacts when he gets hit because he's probably not getting hit in practice right now. So I think you got to bring pressure. You got to dial it up. And the other reason I say that, Jackson, and I think a lot of OU fans may agree with this, is Texas has got really good receivers. And I think if you're going to pick one probably area Oklahoma's defense that could be got. It could be in the back end. And I'm not saying all the time, but it's just natural. If you got mono y mono on the outside, that's a matchup where you're going to have to win or you're going to lose and get beat for a touchdown. We saw it. We saw it just a few weeks ago in the Auburn game. They had some explosive plays down the field, and when Zach Alley dials some stuff up with pressure and brings extra guys, that's going to put people out there one on one. And you got to make the play. If you don't, they're going to beat you on it because yours is a very accurate passer. I mean, last year, 31 of 37 against Oklahoma. And I think most people would say, OU got 2 years. And they did. I mean, Jackson, they did. He had 3 turnovers, but he still was 31 of 37 for like 350 or 380. I don't remember what it was for. So he's very accurate. But I do say, even though he's very accurate, you can disguise some things and I think get to him. And I think that's what they need to do.
Yeah, kind of what you said with just being able to make things hard on Ewers, maybe show them some stuff. Obviously, we expect Oklahoma to have some new looks that they haven't shown on film all year long. And I really do look for Oklahoma, whether they run that 4-2-5, the 3-3-5, the bear front, the 3-2-6.
4-2-5. I hope they don't do that. It's too many men on the field. I hope they don't do that.
No, it's not. That's 11.
Oh, my bad. I see. I can't even add Jackson. It's get me to the game. I'm already losing my mind.
No, yeah, I know. It was such a long week with the off week and everything, Jay. But you just talk about it. Oklahoma, it doesn't matter if they're rushing 3, if they're rushing 5, if they're going to rush 4, if they're even going to bring 6 at times. They need to be able to get home on Quinn Ewers. They need, frankly, to get the ball to the offense as many times as they can because this offense has not shown that they can have consistent drives throughout the whole entire game. They haven't shown that all year, so they're obviously going to need to force some turnovers, which I expect them to do because Oklahoma over these last 2 seasons under Brent Venables, it's fair to say they have been elite at getting the ball back to the offense. They find so many ways to force turnovers and stuff. We've seen it early in the season so far. So, I mean, there's really nothing that's telling me that this defensive line can't come in and play a good game because they've held their own against every single team they've played. Now, I know Texas, they're the number 1 team. They did handle a Michigan team on the road, but really how good was that Michigan team that they beat? We're going to have to wait and see how good this Texas team is, and I think we're going to really see a lot on Saturday because, Jay, it's the Red River Showdown. Anything can happen. We've seen Caleb Williams come in and do quite frankly, something we never thought we'd see happen. We've seen Dylan Gabriel lead drives when it's needed most for Oklahoma. So this is a game, no telling what's going to happen, but I already know I'm excited. And Jay, just like you said earlier, you're already thinking about the game and you can't wait for it to get here.
Yeah, man, Red River Showdown. That's a new one. I've heard Red River Shootout and Red River Rivalry. I kind of like the Red River Showdown. Hey, last thing I'm going to ask before we close, and just very quickly, as we sit here on a Tuesday morning, how many sacks do you think OU gets in this game?
I got
5. Let me set the over under at 5 because that's what they got last year. I'm taking the under at 5.
I'm going to take the over.
Wow. Okay. If that's true, I think there's a very good chance. I mean, if they were able to get to Quinn Ewers 6 or 7 times, I think it's would be elite.
If they get to Quinn 6 or 7 times, more than likely, this is a defense that controlled the whole entire game for Oklahoma.
Well, I mean, I think, and I took the under. I don't think they're going to get 5 again. I think that was outstanding last year. I think Texas O-line is better this year. I do think OU's defensive line is better. But to me, if you're going to get that, like 6 or 7, I think it's you have a lead and you can pin your ears back. And I don't see that from Oklahoma offensively to have much of a lead in this game. But we'll see. We still got 4 days, man. 4 days till we go to Red River Rivalry or Showdown, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for watching our content. We really do appreciate it. And maybe tomorrow I'll be able to add numbers together. I won't be saying 4 + 2 + 5 is 12. It's 11. But appreciate you guys watching the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you next time.